Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to another video. It is back. The Champions League returns again this week. It is the second half of the round of 16 draw. And in typical fashion, I've decided that we're going to look at the games that are going to be played out this week. And we're going to analyze, talk about and predict how the outcomes of the first leg of the other half of the round of 16 games will go. But before we go into all of that, I would like to remind you all to please like the video and also subscribe if you're new. Both things are always and forever be greatly appreciated, of course. But for now, let's get into the Champions League games that are going to be taking place this week. Alright, so first up, we of course come to Tuesday night's games. And first up, we have the current holders of this competition in Chelsea taking on Lyon at Stamford Bridge. Of course, since the last time that Chelsea were in Champions League action to now, Chelsea have gone on to become world champions following their triumph in the Club World Cup, of course, that happened not too long ago. A major boost for Chelsea in that aspect, but their celebrations would obviously have to be cut a little bit short because they have returned to action very quickly. They got back to winning ways in the Premier League with a 1-0 victory over Crystal Palace at the weekend. And now they turn their attention back to the Champions League, and French side Lyon are first up on the agenda to contend with. Last year's French League champions topped their group in the group stages this season, and whilst not being one of the more high-profile names in this competition, with all due respect, they are not to be taken lightly either. They are not to be taken for granted by this Chelsea side, because if they do and they take their eye off the ball, then Lyon could stun and surprise the Blues here in this game. The French side may be currently sat mid-table in Ligue 1 right now, but if Chelsea take this game for granted, if they take their eye off the ball, or if they take the French side too lightly, then like I say, it might come back to bite them in the long run, especially with the second leg being played away from home in Lyon. So that's also something to bear in mind as well. Regardless, I'd expect Chelsea to pass this game and advance to the quarterfinals. I think that they'll pass with flying colours, progress to the quarterfinals, and by winning both legs. I think that Thomas Tuchel's side will have too much for Lyon to handle, particularly in the attacking third, whilst also, of course, being defensively resolute and solid at the back. I can't really see Lyon getting too much joy from the Chelsea backline, despite having some key danger men within their ranks. You think of the likes of Burak Yilmaz, Jonathan David, who's said to be attracting a lot of interest from some top European clubs, and of course the unpredictable Hatem Ben Arfa. So it won't be easy for Chelsea, but I don't think they'll have too much of a problem at the same time, if that sort of makes sense. Nevertheless, I'd expect Chelsea to win the first game and go on and professionally secure the victory in the second leg as well, and that is why I'm going for a 2-0 victory in favour of Chelsea for the first leg. Tuesday night will also see Juventus travel to Spain to take on Villarreal. The Spanish side are going about their business as usual within La Liga. They are 6th place in the table. They are in the race for top 4, of course. And nothing seems very much out of the ordinary for the Yellow Submarine. They're going about their business as usual, as you'd expect. But whilst in contrast for Juventus, of course, you know, they've suffered a bit this season. They definitely have suffered a bit this season after losing their Serie A crown last campaign. We thought that they might try and recover and get it back for this season. So far, it just hasn't happened. Max Allegri's side currently find themselves in 4th in the table, and they are 9 points off top of the table, AC Milan. So as you can tell, not gone quite the way that Juventus were expecting. But this is an intriguing game, though. The Champions League obviously throws up these kind of things where they may not be doing so well in the league, but they might be doing well in cup competitions as well. Of course, Villarreal will be looking to be a solid defensive unit in this game, you'd imagine, and try and pick their moment to attack a Juventus side that aren't invincible. They are they aren't the Juventus side of old, shall we say. And whilst Juventus themselves may not be shining, they, of course, did top their group in the group stages, a group that also consisted of the current Champions League holders, Chelsea, of course. So that was a good achievement in itself for the Italian side. But as we saw from their performances in the Europa League, Villarreal are no pushovers. They are not to be underestimated by any means of the imagination. They actually won that competition, if you remember, last season. So it will be a strongly contested game, I think, across both legs here. I would imagine that... I'd imagine that both teams will be competitive. I imagine that it will be an intriguing contrast in styles and everything that goes along with that between a Spanish side and an Italian side. I think on a Champions League stage, Juventus may just have a bit more of a clinical edge to them, a stronger forward line for them when you consider the likes of adding Dusan Vlahovic in the January transfer window is a big boost to their forward line. Alvaro Morata does come up with some big goals from time to time. Paulo Dybala, of course, is still at Juventus. Moise Kean is also their backup striker. So they have definitely some players there that are key danger men for them and should be heavily looked at from a Villarreal point of view. I just think that they may just have a bit more firepower than Villarreal to get them through both legs of this tie. And even a solid and defensive and disciplined structure of Villarreal may not be able to handle that at the best of times. But let's face it, this isn't the Juventus of several years ago. They can be got at. They aren't going to be as solid as they once were. So it does make for interesting reading, especially when you consider that Villarreal do play with a bit of a throwback 4-4-2 formation. So it does make for interesting reading when you look at the analysts, or you analyse the game just as a whole. Intriguing game, but one that overall I'm expecting Juventus just to edge and progress to the final 8 with, especially with the second leg being at home for them. The first leg being in Spain does make it a little bit trickier to call, but I am still going to go with Juventus for this one. I am going to give them the edge and say that they come out as 2-1 winners in the first leg. Next up, we come to arguably the biggest tie in this half of the draw. We have got a Wednesday night encounter in Madrid as Atletico take on Manchester United. A big and unpredictable tie awaits us, I would imagine, in this one as Ralf Rangnick takes on Diego Simeone. Two managers in control of two teams who have been pretty underwhelming this season, I guess is the best way to put it, having so much promise and potential going into their various campaigns. It just hasn't quite lived up to the expectations, has it, for both sides. The Spanish side coming off the back of a title-winning season last season, whilst United had all the buzz surrounding them from their own fans for their transfer business and for the way they look to be progressing from last season. And it, like I say, for either side, it just has not lived up to the expectation that was once set before a ball was even kicked during this campaign. And now it seems that both sides, whilst maybe competing on other fronts, maybe even competing in this, maybe if they get a bit of a look in terms of the draw that they may get to the final, maybe they may get something, but overall it just seems that both sides are involved in a top 4 race as of now to qualify for this competition again next season, but both are facing difficult roads ahead to make that possible. But like I said, as far as this competition goes and the ambitions of both sides to possibly win it, it's going to take a lot of luck to get there. They're having to rely on getting past this fixture. They're going to have to rely on getting favourable draws from here to the final, and then it's going to take, like I say, a lot of luck to get there. But as far as this competition has gone already, for Atletico, they just managed to qualify in what was, albeit considered, a very tricky group for them, to be honest, with runaway winners Liverpool, AC Milan and Porto in their group as well. It came down to the final group game for them to win, which of course they accomplished to get here, whilst United needed to rely heavily on Cristiano Ronaldo a number of times to save them repeatedly in matches against young boys Villarreal and Atalanta. And let's face it, the majority of those games were being managed by Ole Gunnar Solskjaer at the time. So you know, see how Ralf Rangnick takes to the Champions League in a more competitive game. Ronaldo managed to drag them through to this point of the competition, and let's face it, He's reuniting with an old foe in Atletico Madrid. Ronaldo haunted Atletico a number of times during his Real Madrid days. And maybe he will do the same here once again for United, helping them get through to the quarterfinals. Atletico will still try and remain solid. They'll still try and remain disciplined, be a solid defensive unit that we've known them to be. But over the past year or so, they have actually managed to... I think they're adapting and changing their way. They've added a bit more attacking flair to their squad. They are... we've seen in previous games, particularly in the games in Liverpool, that they are a bit more adventurous now than what they once were. In the way that they play, they don't tend to stay behind the ball as much. They tend to press, get forward a little bit more, be a bit more progressive. But it's going to make for an interesting game either which way, because there is a lot of talent and there's a lot of quality on the pitch that we know it. It'll be intriguing to keep your eyes on all the players, mainly from like an Atletico point of view. You look at the likes of Koke, Antoine Griezmann, Yannick Carrasco, João Felix, and of course Luis Suarez. United will remember all about him from his days playing for Liverpool. Whilst for Rangnick, he will need to call upon the likes of Marcus Rashford, Jadon Sancho, Bruno Fernandes, and of course, like I mentioned before, Cristiano Ronaldo, to get them through this game, for this massive game ahead. And it will be an interesting battle. It will just be an interesting battle between those players in particular. It will be an interesting battle of the managers, and it will be an even more interesting battle of the two goalkeepers. David De Gea for Manchester United, Jan Oblak of Atletico Madrid, both notoriously outstanding goalkeepers. It's going to make for a very intriguing battle ahead. This is a tie that genuinely could go any which way across two legs. It's very much open to, because of how unpredictable and how underwhelming that both sides have been this season. I'd expect probably United just about to edge the tie overall, particularly when you consider that the second leg is set to be played out at Old Trafford. And also, along with that, you think about the squad that both teams have, you think about the match winners that United have over Atletico. I think that United may just edge this one into the quarterfinals, but of course I wouldn't be surprised whichever way the result goes, in all honesty. But for the first leg, I am going to predict a draw. I'm going to say that it will end 2-2 come the final whistle in Madrid, and then United will just about edge the job to be done in the second leg. And last up, we have Benfica's clash with Ajax, which is set to be an intriguing game because these two teams may not be the flashiest or high-profile names in the Champions League right now, but this could be a very underrated game of football because this is going to be an interesting battle between two sides that I think are pretty underrated, in all honesty. Benfica qualified alongside Bayern Munich, knocking Barcelona out in the process to progress to this round of the competition, whilst Ajax passed their group with flying colours, of course, winning all 6 of their group stage games and also having this season's competition's top goal scorer within their ranks in Sebastian Haller, with 10 goals so far, and of course he will be looking to add to that to help Ajax progress to the quarter-final stages. Not only that, but Ajax also have 20 goals to their names scored overall because Haller scored half of them, and have only conceded 5 goals in this competition so far. And to put it all into perspective of how impressive Ajax have been in the Champions League so far, they've been impressive. In their domestic league, though, they've been even more impressive. It's been an incredible season so far for Ajax. They've played 23 games and they've scored 70 goals and have only conceded 5. Only conceded 5 goals. The same amount of goals they've conceded in the Champions League, but in 23 games to only concede 5 goals in the domestic league, regardless of what league it is simply incredible. They are top of the table, of course, and it will be a very big battle ahead for Benfica because not only will they have to obviously break down what has become a solid defensive unit for Ajax under Erik ten Hag, but they'll also have to keep them out at the other end in what they have become a very dangerous side when attacking. It'd be a big uphill battle, I would imagine, for Benfica, who are currently sat in third in their Portuguese league. They, of course, progressed to this stage very well, but like I say, face a difficult task in Ajax here. So therefore, it will be an intriguing game from that aspect. It will be an intriguing battle of the players on the pitch as well. We know the likes of Jan Vertonghen, Nicolas Otamendi, and the baller known as Adel Taarabt from their time playing over here in England. But there will also be a couple of other names to look out for, the likes of Everton on the left wing and also Alex Grimaldo at left back. They'll be ones to keep your eye on for this game. Whilst for Ajax, we know of course about Sebastian Haller. We've talked about Haller a lot during this part of the video. But he will also have the likes of Anthony and Dusan Tadic both supporting him in that attacking role. And let's not forget as well, but this is Ajax, so expect to see a lot of fresh new talent being presented on this stage. We know that obviously Ajax love to keep on bringing through this young talent, giving them this kind of stage and opportunity to show off their talent and potential. And so don't be surprised if you see some different names pop up on the Ajax team sheet that may catch your eye going forward, because that's just the kind of team that Ajax are, and it will just be an interesting game just to see if that is the case here or not. For me, I cannot see anything other than an Ajax win, in all honesty. I think that they'll win this tie overall. I think that the first leg may be a bit more tricky for them to navigate past, being away from home and stuff. But with how solid defensively they are right now and how they are dangerous and full of goals in an attacking sense, I just think that overall Ajax will win this tie and progress to the final 8. And that's why I'm going for a first leg victory of 2-0 to Ajax, and then of course them to finish off the job when it goes back to their home ground. But of course, as I always say, these are just the thoughts, comments, opinions, predictions, whatever you want to call it, of this guy. I want to know what you guys think. What do you make of the upcoming games this week in the round of 16 draw, the second half of the round of 16 draw, should I say? What are your own analysis on the games? What are your own thoughts, your comments, opinions, and most of all, of course, what are your predictions on the first leg ties of these upcoming games in the Champions League? I'd love to know them all down in the comment section below, because I'm sure it'll all make for interesting reading. Otherwise, hit the like button on the way up. If you enjoyed the video, subscribe if you're new or want to see more content like this. Both things always and forever be greatly appreciated. And as always, thank you all so much for watching and listening. I've been Flesh. This has been another Flesh Talks video, and I will see and speak to you all again soon in another video.